Well, good morning and welcome to the Ventures On-Site webinar. We are so glad that you can join us today. My name's Phil Higgins and I will be your host for the day. Well, today we will review the progress of 2023's construction activity for the region, provide you with some insights for the remainder of the year, along with a sneak peek into what is anticipated for the trends of 2024. Well, it's been a very difficult few years for the construction industry worldwide and here in the Middle East region. However, strong construction growth in Saudi Arabia and a buoyant residential development in the UAE and other major investments in the oil and gas sector have seen a quick turnaround in the region that has stimulated some major project activity. We hope today's discussion will help you understand some of the macro dynamics for the industry today and for the future. Well, today we are joined by three leading industry companies to understand more about their business, their plans for the future, and hopefully some insights into the current market conditions in Saudi Arabia. Joining us today, we have Badr Hanbazaza, the Director of Community Relations at Roshn. We have Hugh Kidman, the Chief Architect at Omrania, and Mikhael Alkurdi, the Business Development Specialist at BEC, Arabia. All right, so let's take a quick look at the construction update, where we are in 2023, and what is expected for 2024. So just a little brief about Ventures On-Site, if you're not familiar with the company. Ventures is a project tracking solution that can help you stimulate your business activity, especially focused to the construction sector. Ventures On-Site is a market-leading tracker of project activity throughout the MENA region. And we've been doing this for more than 20 years. And so our database of project information is current, but also provides you with the historical record for what each player or stakeholder has been involved with. So it's very comprehensive. We provide accurate and detailed information on completed, ongoing, and future projects, tracking the project from concept all the way through to completion. It's a comprehensive platform and can help you find and select the right projects for your business and allow you to explore project opportunities in new countries and new industries. We have 5 key sectors within our system: buildings, infrastructure, oil and gas, industrial, and water and power. So it doesn't really matter which part of the industry you are associated with, we have the information segregated for you. So briefly, the GDP for the GCC region by country, you can see here in 2022, there was a significant increase, but this is a percentage from the previous year. And we know that 2021 was a year we all try to forget. But as we have moved forward 2023 and 2024, we're looking at similar projection. What's really interesting to note is what's happening in Oman and some of the major projects, which we'll touch briefly on, in the industrial and new energy sector is really driving some activity and development expectations for 2024. The GCC contractor awards, this is the number of the projects value that have been awarded to contractors, and it's always a healthy gauge for us. It's a report that we drag out every now and again to see where we are in relation to where we've been. Here we've only dated back for 2000 and 2015, but with the Ventures On-Site platform, you can, of course, sort of track that back further. And the number here for 2023 is the current number of 132 billion, with the expected forecast for the year. And so we're looking for around that 170 billion mark, still below where we were in 2015, which was a peak in climb from the 2010-9-10 economic crisis, which was quite devastating for the entire world. And so we're slowly moving back. I probably would bring to your attention that in 2020, we had there were expectations that the forecast for 2020 would be significantly more than 2018 and 19. But unfortunately, COVID put a hold on a lot of that, and we've slowly pulled our way back out. Some of the driving activity that is being seen in Saudi Arabia and the UAE will continue to push this number higher, and it's quite exciting to see. The contractor awards by country, just to break this down, and this is across all construction sectors. Remember, I mentioned the 5 construction sectors before. This is all sectors. And here you can see that the UAE and KSA region is driving a lot of the activity that we are seeing today. We still have some strong activities in Qatar, a little bit down from the previous year, but still moving forward. There are some very good projects and infrastructure projects moving ahead. Kuwait, Oman, and Bahrain, typical for their region. The GCC contractor awards by industry. Now, this is taking those same numbers, breaking it down by industry. And here you can see the oil and gas sector is really driving a lot of activity in the construction space throughout the region. Significant investments in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, and also the UAE. And so the oil and gas sector is healthy. Now, you may not be associated to the oil and gas sector, but it's always healthy to understand that that investment in oil and gas does also drive a lot of the construction activity that we see throughout the region. Later, you'll see that Aramco is one of the major developers in Saudi Arabia. But Aramco isn't just associated to the oil and gas sector. They have a significant project construction program moving ahead. They are very involved with the development. And so it's more than just oil and gas that's driving the success. Industrial activity is increasing. We're seeing a stronger industrial activity in Saudi Arabia. Buildings continue to move forward, and we are on track according to the numbers that have already been awarded and what is forecast for the rest of this year. Some of the top clients who have announced major projects. So this is projects that haven't actually been, they may be in the design stage. Tenders or award has not been made to a contractor at this point in time, but ranking according to the value of the projects, we have Saudi Aramco, Hydrom in Oman. Remember, I mentioned before some really interesting things going ahead in Oman and some major project announcement associated there. Public Investment Fund as a developer in Saudi Arabia, extremely strong. ADNOC, Shah Development, Airport Development, very much associated with the Jeddah development, the airport development, but not just the airport. There are communities that Shah Airport Development is associated with. Aldar Properties continuing to expand in the UAE region. Arada Developments moving ahead very strong. Abu Dhabi Housing Authority, they're pushing forward very, very healthy in the UAE market. ACWA Power in Saudi Arabia with some strong power developments there. And Dubai Properties Group in the UAE have recently announced some significant projects to move forward. Great signs, good signs to identify these because they become the pipeline for the future. But top clients who have awarded major projects, this is really important. Hydrom has awarded projects. It's not just talk in Saudi Arabia, in Oman, they are moving ahead. Saudi Aramco and Saudi Aramco Total Refining, some oil and gas sector there. Public Investment Fund, of course, moving ahead very quickly. Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, Red Sea Global, and another major project development in Saudi that we will have a look at. Qatar Energy, Abu Dhabi National Energy, and see, as you can see, some of these major awards are from the oil and gas sectors. A significant amount of investment there. Renewable Energy Project Development Office in KSA, and sneaking in there is Dubai Properties Group, who have recently awarded some major project developments in the UAE. Top contractors who have won projects, and if you're supplying materials to the construction sector, a list that you need to be writing down: Alec Engineering, doing very well in the UAE, Trojan General Contracting, Saudi Arabia Badr, Urbicon Trading and Contracting in Qatar, and I understand they have a new partnership for Saudi Arabia, Jinko General Contracting, ABR Contracting. I mean, the list goes on. You can see it here. Al Unaya Investment, Badr General Contracting, very strong, these projects, project activities in Saudi Arabia. Jandi Nul Dredging. I think this is the first time I've actually ever seen a dredging company on a top list, but they have some major project activity in the UAE, and I understand a project in Saudi as well. Metak General Contracting, China Construction Third Engineering Bureau, who have taken some of the major project activity for the line in Saudi Arabia, in Neom, and Al-Shir Al-Kabir. Interesting that they are on the list, a UAE contractor who predominantly is associated with smaller project activity, like $1 to $40 billion, but they have a very strong portfolio of projects in hand that they are moving ahead, and have snuck here onto this list, which is a fantastic sign. Well, some of the major projects that have been announced in 2023, which will keep the industry busy moving ahead. Here is a list, and we're just showing here the project value. The new Muraba project in Riyadh, a $48 billion project. The Oasis by Emaar, Aziz residential development in South Bay, a major development, and the developer has recently announced the construction of what they plan to be the second tallest building in the world. The North Pole project in Riyadh. This is an amazing new project just recently announced. Again, also saying that they're going to build the tallest building in the world. So that might make the Azizi building the third buildest. I'm not really sure. They haven't actually announced the sizes yet. But many projects here with Saadiyat Island, Masar in Sharjah, Gardenia Bay in Yas Island, Konos, the Box of Treasures in Riyadh, and of course Neom and Wifa residential communities in Riyadh with Roshn, and so there's a lot of activity moving ahead, dominated by the activities, the project development in Saudi Arabia and in the UAE. So the GCC contractor awards by country, you can see here typical numbers to what we have seen before, but very strong forecast for growth in Saudi Arabia, followed by the UAE and Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, and Bahrain. And of course, I mean, no presentation in the construction industry is complete unless it has a list of some of the giga projects that we're seeing in Saudi Arabia, and very pleased to see that these are just not spoken about today. There is action on all of these sites. And of course, we have Neom, a $500 billion project, yet only today awards have only been $24 billion. We have the Gidia City, an $8 billion project, and yet only $3.8 billion worth of contract has been awarded to date. The Red Sea project, $16 billion, only $5 billion has been awarded. So you can see here, I mean, we all know these projects, but we just wanted to identify the amount of work that is yet to be awarded for some of these major projects. Al-Ula, I've never been to Al-Ula. I really want to go to Al-Ula, but a $15 billion development, and only a small portion has been awarded today. Amala, $6 million, just over 50% has been awarded, and some of the major activity there for Jeddah Central, a massive $20 billion development, and to date, not much has moved forward. Not even just over $500 million has been awarded for this development. So significant activity yet to move ahead, and I guess the comforting factor here is that they demolished half of Jeddah to build Jeddah Central, so they have to build something. So that definitely is moving forward. Diriyah Gate, another project, $20 billion projection or estimated cost, and awards today just less than $4 billion. So lots of activity. And the new Murabba, a $48 billion project that has really just kicked forward with only $1.4 million worth of award so far. But some of the market drivers that we're expecting to see in the coming years, the economic and population growth fueling social infrastructure projects, and also power and water and other utility projects. That's a healthy sign. Long-term government vision such as the Saudi 2030 and D33 and Plan Abu Dhabi 2030. And so there's a lot of progress and vision for the region. The KSA Giga and Mega Projects program moving ahead, very exciting to see. Belt and Road initiatives, planned new rail projects in Bahrain and Oman and Kuwait, very supportive to ongoing developments. The rise of renewable and gas projects, it's significant. The amount of solar energy and wind energy and gas projects that are coming to the region. Massive investments planned for the development of hydrogen and ammonia projects in all territories, in all GCC countries. Increased focus on industrial and manufacturing projects, which is fantastic to see, and a flurry of new real estate projects announced, especially in the UAE and KSA. So we're seeing tremendous amount of residential project in the UAE, very strengthening the construction activity here. And it's great to see new developers being announced, constantly projects being sold off plan in good numbers, record number sales for residential activity. And so we only hope that this will continue and these projects all come to be built on time and supporting the entire industry. Well, it gives me great pleasure to finish this presentation with an introduction to a new entity called Scavo. Now, this is probably the first public announcement for this partnership that has been formed between Ventures Onsite and the Saudi Contractors Authority. And so we, Ventures Onsite and the Saudi Contractors Authority, have joined together to support the promotion and expansion of Ventures Onsite in Saudi Arabia. This initiative will track projects better with wider coverage and more in-depth access to more information directly from the project owners and the industry stakeholders in Saudi Arabia. Scavo and Ventures Onsite will take project tracking in Saudi Arabia to the next level with this partnership. And if you're an existing subscriber to the Ventures Onsite platform, don't fear, nothing will change. You will have access to the Ventures Onsite platform, but with increased information specifically for the Saudi Arabian market. So we look forward to that moving ahead. We congratulate Ventures Onsite and the Saudi Contractors Authority for moving forward with this long planned. This has been in the working for quite some time, and it's fantastic to see that relationship is moving forward. And so with that, I say thank you very much. That's just a brief introduction to where we are today, and I'm sure that you will find this helpful. Thank you, guys, for joining us. We have Hugh and Mikhael and Badr. I'm going to leave it over to you guys to talk to us about your business. Now, I didn't really give any specific scope to these to our guest panels today. I wanted them to present about their company. I wanted them to talk to us about how they see the industry moving forward. We've given each of them 10 to 15 minutes to talk, and we really look forward to their contribution. So kicking off, I'm going to kick over to Mikhael. Thanks for joining us, Mikhael. You were had some difficulty getting connected there, but glad you made it. Glad you made it on board. If you would like to share your screen or let us see your face, and I'll I'll hand it over to you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Is the screen live?
That is perfect. Fantastic.
Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A very good morning to each one of you. My name is Mikhael Alkurdi, and I'm proud to represent the business development team at BEC Arabia. I'm thrilled to be here today, and thank you, Philip, for organizing this wonderful event, and hopefully we can contribute to these panel discussions. Although my colleague, Mr. Salman, had an urgent meeting, he's here with us in spirit. The world around us is changing rapidly, and with that change comes both new market demands and exciting new opportunities. Today, I'd like to give a general overview of our business activities and how we're managing growth, as well as how we're utilizing the platform like Ventures on Site to win projects and make valuable connections. At BEC Arabia, we are fully aligned with Vision 2030 and the Kingdom's ambitious plan to create a vibrant and diversified economy. Vision 2030 has three key pillars: a vital society, a thriving economy, and an ambitious nation. These pillars guide our actions and share our commitment to the Kingdom's transformation. With clear direction from our executive management and our esteemed CEO, Engineer Ahmed Jamal, we are at the forefront of a fruitful journey pivoting the industry towards new heights. Our vision is to provide engineering and construction solutions that empower us to undertake more significant projects, fueling our ambition. We aim to be the construction company of choice by delivering integrated solutions that consistently create value. Our ambition is to leverage our engineering and construction prowess to tackle increasingly significant projects while driving growth and excellence. Our core values are built on responsibility, integrity, productivity, and exceptional quality while upholding all ethical standards. We focus on loss prevention, cost-effective solutions, and continuous performance improvement. Productivity is central to our growth, driven by our collaborative approach, passionate and positive team. Finally, we embrace a learning culture that promotes continuous development, utilizing the right knowledge and tools while nurturing personal growth through investment in our people. So BEC Arabia's journey began as a construction company in the United Arab Emirates since 1998, specializing in high-rise buildings, healthcare, education, and residential facilities. In 2009, BEC Arabia's contracting arm established its presence in the KSA market, offering a wide range of services and solutions powered by our exceptional technical and engineering capabilities. We embarked on a transformational phase in 2019, fueled by the market demand for highly specialized contractors to fill the gaps within the market. Henceforth, alongside our core contracting business, we have extended into several subsidiaries to diversify our service and offerings. The first and foremost important subsidiary that we have incorporated is our real estate division. It was established with a focus on real estate development and investments. We have recently completed Wadi Al Hada residential compound located in Wadi Hanifa, where we have personally invested 150 million towards the project. So not only are we the contractors and the main contractor, but we are also entering this project as co-developers. The second most important subsidiary of ours is BEC Concrete Solutions. We have established 7 ready-mix concrete batching plants and precast building systems, giving us a competitive edge in the landscape where time and cost are key drivers for success. Another new subsidiary of ours is BEC Landscaping. Through our subsidiary, Green Dimensions Arabia, we are undertaking a groundbreaking landscaping project in Neom, the first of its kind, which entails the execution and transplanting of 15,000 dome palm trees, which are of significant historical and cultural importance to the kingdom. Last but not least, our facility management subsidiary plays a pivotal role in ensuring excellence, not only during project execution, but also in the critical post-project handover phase. It is dedicated to optimizing offerings and standalone assets, as well as property management, and offering top-tier maintenance services, which are highly in demand within the kingdom. Here are some of our projects. This is STC Square. In terms of our success this year, we have achieved remarkable milestones in infrastructure, social infrastructure, hospitality, and further investments. We have completed projects such as the Ramada housing project, Wadi al-Hada. We have completed 63 schools for Tatweer Building Company, amongst numerous others. We are also on track to complete Amala Staff Village, Sindala clusters 3, 4, 5, and 6, if I'm not wrong, and as well as STC Square, as you see shown here. This is the project Wadi al-Hada, as I mentioned earlier. Ventures on site has been instrumental in our success. This platform allowed us to stay up to date with the vision's pipeline and upcoming projects, which further allowed us to identify new opportunities and network through industry events, as well as collaborating effectively with all of our stakeholders and the whole supply chain. Looking ahead to our 2024 plan, our leadership remains committed to the growth of the industry and the kingdom's transformational vision. Our collaborative approach, expertise, commitment, and sustainable practices position us strategically to deliver transformative projects in line with the kingdom's vision 2030. We are already collaborating extensively with government and private and semi-government sectors to diversify our portfolio even further, including more infrastructure and hospitality projects, while working on additional giga projects as well, and at the same time expanding our investment development reach. This approach sets us apart and differentiates us from our competitors. With the help of Ventures on Site, we are able to achieve great success to date. By subscribing to the platform, we are able to stay up to date with the pipeline, which allows us to identify and allocate resources for new opportunities beforehand. Is there anything? Yeah, this is the Wave 2 schools. Some of our high-profile clients, and to conclude it off, it has definitely been a pleasure sharing our journey with you today. BEC Arabia is not just a construction conglomerate. We are a catalyst for progress, innovation, and excellence, contributing to the realization of Vision 2030's ambitious goals. We are always open to partnerships and strategic alliances along with our fellow panelists. And thank you for your attention. And I look forward to any questions and discussions that come my way.
I'm glad you said that, Mikhael, because there are lots of questions that I'm sure you can help us out with. And if you are joining us today and you do have any questions for us, for the panel, or anything specific to Saudi or the GCC market, then please send us those questions. You can see the open chat message there on the platform, and so send us those questions. And just to remind you again that we will we will share the recording for this webinar and the presentation. So, but please submit your questions. You know, in life, when you meet some guy and you just sort of instantly know he's going to be your friend for life. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce Badr to you. He is that kind of guy. He is just the guy you meet and you just know he's going to be your friend. He is such a wonderful man. We had the pleasure to meet Badr at an exhibition a few months ago, and super guy. And we've invited him to join us. He's coming to us all the way from Roshn in Saudi Arabia. Badr, thank you so much for joining us. And why don't you tell us what's going on at Roshn these days?
Thanks, Philip, and thanks for the nice introduction. It's a pleasure to be a friend with you, and it's a pleasure to be in this panel. Actually, I'll give a quick heads up on who's Roshn Real Estate or who's Roshn Group. Roshn Real Estate Group is the Giga Projects developer built by Public Investment Fund. Our Roshn is empowered by Public Investment Fund, the Saudi Public Investment Fund. We're a main pillar in the Vision 2030 to support and increasing the housing demand at KSA. Basically, we have projects announced and projects handed over. One of the projects handed over today is Roshn Sidra, or Sidra by Roshn. Sidra project is a massive community ungated. That is, we've handed over out of it so far with key handed over 300 units. We have people living in Sidra, and it's an active community living today, built and made by Roshn completely. Also, we have upcoming projects on the way in Jeddah, which is Al Arus. Al Arus was our second project in Jeddah. Recently, we have announced the biggest canal project in KSA or maybe in the region, which is Marafi. That giga project is gonna change the concept of living in downtowns or living in near sea. It has a mixed use and has a lot of aspirational aspects there. Also, we have been announced as the top real estate developer in GCC recently by the Construction Week magazine. So basically, Roshn looks after multiple kind of projects. The last project we announced was a couple of days ago, which is Roshn Front, which we have made an acquisition on Riyadh Front Mall, and now it is called Roshn Front. That became a part of Roshn project, which is allocated in front of Sidra project. Now we're looking forward for more expansions in other projects, but we're moving forward, or we're announcing upon approvals and confidentiality due to that. It's some of the projects are not allowed to be announced at the moment, but yet more exciting projects to come to the market by Roshn.
Fantastic, Badr. Thank you so much. You know, I have one question for you, and you know that question. You just mentioned it now. You said something about the ungated community. Can you explain a little bit more about this? What does that mean for us?
Okay. Basically, the ungated communities it's the concept of living in a community. It's a basically let's go back to the history of Saudi living experience. In the life in KSA, when the people started building homes, they were living as one community. Like, there was no fences between the houses. The people were living like they're living in one home. and all the neighbors knows each other, and all the neighbors live together like they are one family. And that with the age, the people started to build fences and then started to separate and started to have separate houses and single houses without being engaged together, and the neighbor life started to vanish. This is where the vision came of making the people living together and living as one family in one community. And that's why our communities in Roshn, all of them are ungated, and all of them have no front fences, and the people living together as they are living in one neighborhood, one neighborhood. We're providing a gated community services in an ungated community where everyone have access, while the residents have more services to live or more services to leverage from, and have more ready communities to live in.
Fantastic. Well, that's very interesting, and I'm sure that will be a tremendous success. This is the concept for all of your developments or specific developments?
It's going to be the concept of so far it's going to be the concept of Sidra and Larouche. Marafi has a different concept, as it's a mixed use project. It's not it's a high rise buildings and more details in it, with a canal that is very huge, almost 13 kilometers of canal. That is Marafi. The Marafi is the only one which is different from the ungated communities.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. We'll come back to you because there are some questions that are being raised here, and I have some others myself. But I'd like to hand over to Hugh from Omrania to give us a little bit of an explanation as to the development of your specialist architectural consulting firm in Saudi Arabia. Hugh, thank you so much.
Fantastic. Well, Phil, thank you very much for inviting us. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a privilege to be able to introduce ourselves to you guys and just give you a brief explanation of who we are, what we do, and how we view changes in the market at the moment. I think it's very interesting times, and it's nice to be able to comment on it from our perspective. So I'm just going to briefly just explain. We're a company that was set up in 1973 by our founding partners, Bassem Moshihabi and Nabil Fanous, with a client, GOSI, the General Organization for Social Insurance. And it's extraordinary, but they're still our clients 50 years later. We're very much a design-based or design-focused company. So we are our core sort of market would be design architecture. We have staff that are like family. They've been here up to 50 years. I myself has been in the country and in the company for 15 years. So I've seen it grow. One of the things that Omrania offers, which is quite unusual, is a full service. We are multidisciplinary, so we can go anything from architecture up to MEP, structures, contract administration, etc. So it's effectively a one-stop shop in the country with a design pedigree. So if you look at that timeline back in 1973, there were just the four of us with that one project. We subsequently opened offices in London, in Amman, in Bahrain. We now have offices in Madrid, and the company is grown from strength to strength through the years, up to now where we have a total of 445 staff. So it's grown substantially. These are the offices that we have in the region. So we're Riyadh based. We have regional offices in Jeddah. We've got an Oman office. We have our Situ office, which is run by an ex-suite. And then we have our Madrid-based urban design, urban planners, town planning department. As a company, we do everything. It's extraordinary. Almost every project is completely different. From offices, hospitality, urban design schemes, to residential developments, embassies, etc. And this market is obviously fluctuating and changing, so we move from one type to the rest. We have a number of projects which have multiple international awards and are very much featured on the skyline of Riyadh. And I think that's one of our prime strengths is the fact that as designers, both independent and in joint venture, we win a number of awards. We take legacy very, very, very seriously. We are very much contextual driven, so we believe a stronger approach to context is really needed, especially in Riyadh, as the sort of urban landscape is changing. We are experts in developing architectural styles and languages as the kingdom evolves, but we also have a local and an international DNA. So some of our projects are kind of internationally recognized. Some of these buildings you will recognize, but that it's given us an opportunity really to have a thorough understanding of the local construction market. And with dealing with the authorities, we've built up relationships and are able to deliver projects that give us opportunities to develop more GFA, taller buildings, etc. The public realm is becoming more and more important to us. And we basically have an on-the-ground presence within the kingdom of about 450 staff. So it's a strong presence, definitely. Now, in recent years, you may well be familiar, we have been acquired by the Aegis Group. And within a month's time, that deal will be through. And we're very excited about that because Aegis has now established an architectural line of ourselves plus Weston Williamson, U+A, Ten Design, and SB Architects. So heading up a formidable force in the Middle East. Omrania is the only representative within Saudi Arabia. So it is really quite fortunate that we can sort of come together on some of these incredible projects. But I thought I'd just give you a smattering of our featured projects throughout the years. The Tuwaiq Palace, which won the Aga Khan Award back in 1998. This we partnered up with Fry Otto to deliver this particular project, and we believe this is one of the strongest precursors to what is now known as Salmani architecture. Something I will define later as we go through, and perhaps we can talk about it after the presentation. The Kingdom Center, back in the 90s, we partnered up with Ellaby Beckett to produce what effectively changed the skyline in Riyadh, and at the time it was the tallest building in Riyadh. And this is why it's so important. We talk about legacy. You know, the mark that you leave on a city and its identity is so important to us, which is why we feel that there's a very strong design responsibility that we need to adhere to. Back in the day, Salam Park, which was the largest inner city park, and this is an interesting one because it's the precursor really to one of the giga projects, which is Riyadh Greening Strategy. You know, the idea that from the 2030 vision that we start to uplift the amount of green space that's in the city to match European standards. And this one is interesting in sustainability terms because we were utilizing perched water tables, wastewater underneath the city to actually filter and provide an amenity. So your first truly sustainable park. We've done embassies. This is a Saudi embassy in Amman. GOSI, again, that's our first client returning with the GOSI office park. More recently, Saudi Electricity Company's headquarters, which we've just completed, which is 120,000 square meters of office space. Very unique building that has recently opened up. And what you'll see is our sustainability methods, our approach to design. It's in our ethos, our own headquarters, which we designed. We practice what we preach. The PIF Tower, which is currently the tallest building in Saudi Arabia at about 375 meters, it's 80 stories. We designed this with HOK, but we have a long-standing history in KAFD in terms of design review, where we did a design review on the PPA 30 buildings, which are the first 30 towers. We have currently various schemes on within the project itself, actually doing small elements. But more interestingly, we've done the tallest and also the shortest building within King Abdullah Financial District. So this is the Grand Mosque. completed a couple of years ago, again winning numerous international awards for architecture. That's the interior. Hilton Riyadh, which opened a couple of years back. This is, at the time of construction, this was the largest Hilton being constructed in the world. 700 keys with hotel and service department component. It holds in the back the world record for the longest concrete span beam, which extends over the wedding hall. It's about 100 meters in length. It's a substantial space that just opens up to multi uses. More recently, DQ Radisson and the diplomatic quarters. Again, this is a precursor, or one of the elements or designs that starts to demonstrate Salmani architecture in action. Under construction, we have the metro system. So there were 4 major metros that were developed on the system, designed by Snohetta, Zaha Hadid, Gerber, and ours was the 4th in the western region. That's currently being constructed, and it will form a core to this community, the sort of precursor to the TOD within a community that really needed a heart. It houses the metro, and there will be ultimately a market, a farmers market, effectively within the city. King Salman Park, which is a project we won with Henning Larsen in terms of the master planning, but this is one of the first buildings to be constructed for that, which is the operation and maintenance building. It's a building that is sort of built into the landscape and is representational of the ethos of King Salman Park, very much underway and being constructed as we speak. But within the King Salman Park, there are a number of infrastructure projects. We have, I think, a total of 17 bridges, from pedestrian to loop, boulevard, and a land bridge of Al Aruba Road, which is currently under construction. So the park itself extends beyond the boundaries of the development into the adjacent neighborhoods. Recently, the number of staff reduced slightly, and that was because we had a huge amount of projects with the Ministry of Housing, 24 master plans here, ranging in size from 400,000 square meters up to 12 million. And all 24 are sort of coming to completion. So our site supervision on that is coming to, well, it's winding down somewhat. This is the Taif master plan, which is 3 by 3 kilometers. As you can see here, it's very much underway, being populated with the housing. We have Masdar in Makkah, which is 3 hotels and a service department, 2 retail malls on top of a BRT station in the boulevard that leads up to Al Haram, Makkah. So you see it's package A, very, very close to the Grand Mosque, and essentially the first package. Interesting project in that it's trying to develop a modern Hijazi style of architecture, which is something that we're facing more and more. In terms of future projects, we won the King Salman Park along with Henning Larsen back in 2018. We designed the master plan. We're currently developing the infrastructure, the urban quarters. We're reviewing packages in terms of the assets, etc. It started off at 13 million square meters, but it's now in the order of 19 million square meters and growing. Gerber's doing the landscape internally. One of the other side projects, King Salman Park, which is part of the Darya Gate development. So very unique in that pushing the boundaries of a traditional style of architecture. We're doing this with Baha Attar, creating a grand mosque of a scale that has never been seen before in the Najdi style, but down to the finest of details. But at the same time, we just recently won a competition for Al Fawzan Mosque in Al Khobar, which is really quite encouraging. So I want to show our perspective of the market evolution over the last years, the 5 years pretty much. I think one of the things that's really interesting is that as an architectural practice, we saw the development, the clouds brewing for this, the vision, this new vision for Saudi Arabia, rather than just a rolling out of big projects. And that vision then sort of established itself in the form of the Vision 2030. So this was started the rumblings we could hear. And then this vision or the strategic planning eventually sort of manifested itself in the development of the Giga project. So we started getting calls in to start getting involved in the early stages or the design or concept stages of some of these major developments. NEOM, Red Sea, we've been involved in a substantial amount of these Giga projects, whether it's countrywide or within the city itself. There's our King Salman Mosque, been involved in Qadiyah, Sports Boulevard throughout. I mean, there's a substantial amount of these. And that's changed the landscape for us as architects. So urban planning, for instance, as a byproduct, the smaller scale urban planning, master planning of subdevelopments within that landscape. And this has brought about, the last 5 years, the rise of the PMO, the idea that the responsibility for the guidance of the design has shifted somewhat from the architect over to the PMO. And that has changed the landscape and how we react with or to the client itself. And with this development in urban design, what's happened is if you look at this as a breakdown of what we do, whether it's supervision, engineering, design, public buildings, hospitality, the overwhelming majority of work over the last 5 years has been in the master planning sector. It's changed the way we think. And a byproduct of that, and a very, very welcomed byproduct of that, is that the client base is changing their opinion or view of how projects are driven, and landscape as a driver or as a core principle that sort of sets up the project itself has really started to feature. So as quite an encouraging offshoot of that is our own landscape offer has increased substantially, and it's one of our fastest growing sectors in the office. We're getting more and more projects that have landscape at its core. And then, so over those last 5 years now, what we're seeing is as time moves on, so the master planning has been developed. We've been working on those master plans. Now the assets go out to competitions. They go out to international competitions. They go out to international companies. And they are starting to flood back into the Saudi Arabian sector. It's changing the dynamic and population of our professional landscape as well. So what's happening is, as these come in, so the developers or the architects are asking us more and more to get involved in being architect of record to deliver these projects within, say, our master plans, such as the RAC within the King Salman Park, which we're doing at the moment. But as a design company, as Omrania, and our strength is our design. That's what we pride ourselves on. 50 years of experience of leading this. So we insist that when these international designers come in, that we get involved on a 50-50 basis in that design process. We will inherit the legacy of those projects, and we have a responsibility to the urban landscape to maintain what has being developed. A very interesting byproduct of this is that MOMRA, municipality, etc., they're developing new styles of architecture, some which make reference to historical elements. And we've now identified, I think, 17 different styles of architecture throughout the kingdom. So this is Najdi, which is local to Riyadh particularly. And in the process, we've started to develop that architectural style, which is not a pastiche, it's not Disneyland. It's kind of creating a new language of architecture which represents the DNA of sustainability. This stretches down to Makkah, Hijazi architecture, for instance. How do we turn that into a modern Indian again, once without it being postmodern or a pastiche? Khaliji architecture, for instance, on the East Coast as a style. Now we're developing these not as just historic, but 3 levels, whether it's a traditional sort of an in-between development or a modern interpretation of these architectural elements. And then the next byproduct of this is the increase in site supervision and delivery of these projects, because now that the infrastructure is up, the buildings are up, there's a growth in the supervision and site supervision. So what is next? What's next for us in the next 24 months? And as you're all aware, like we can't really talk about it because a lot of these things are early stage. There are numbers of NDAs, but what I can say is there are some extremely interesting projects that are out there. Hopefully within the next coming months, there will be some announcements made so you can see just how this landscape will be changing. But it's having an impact on our company to such an extent that we envisage a 60% growth in our architectural staff. I can see our landscape team increasing substantially in the coming months, for instance, with those developments. So on a whole, very, very exciting times. So I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to give you a taster.
Thank you very much, Hugh. I appreciate that. Very, very thorough, and looks like you have some work set out for you in the future.
Absolutely.
What are some of the changes that you're expecting when Aegis sort of take you over? Anything, well, any personal changes for you? You get a salary increase, or?
That's cheeky. No, I think what's really nice is that we're integrating with the line, architectural line, which gives us like a broader base and an opportunity to use expertise in and around the MENA region, and in the UK and the States. So it allows us collaborative opportunities. Really quite interesting, and we've spent some time with U+A exploring artificial intelligence and various other things that are driving the market at the moment. So super encouraging times. I think Aegis is very, very excited in getting us involved in some of these giga projects as well. Some more of the giga projects. So it's really opening opportunities.
That's exciting. We have some questions, but there is one that I'll stay with you on, and you sort of touched a little bit on this with the different styles of architecture you're seeing in the marketplace or leading in the marketplace. Is this the trend moving forward for the next 5 or 10 years? What do you see driving that architectural design?
I mean, I've seen a substantial change in the attitude towards historic architecture in my 15 years here. A really encouraging move to preserve the past. If you go back in the days to the years of the Aramco with the introduction of oil, and how very quickly people were saying, "Oh, here's these American style developments with a building on a plot with a wall around it. This is what we want." So often the historic cities were neglected. Now, those cities, such as Daria, or Stos, or whichever city there is, basically held secrets of sustainability. Living in an environment that's harsh like this, and that led to methods of construction, methods of dealing with open and public space, for instance. So what started to happen is MOMRA particularly has looked at the country in 17 different regions and different styles of architecture to try and grab that essence and create a DNA that generates an architectural guideline, as it were, for how you would approach restoration, for instance, or how you would approach medium development of that architectural style, or indeed how you would do a modern version of, say, Hijazi or Najdi or Khaliji architecture. And these guidelines are starting to be issued, or they're almost at the point of being finalized. So it's going to have an influence on what the landscape looks like, and in a very positive way, I have to say, extremely positive.
Fantastic. We have so many questions. I'm going to keep moving through some of them quickly. We're over the 1 hour, but I think we can continue for a little bit longer. There's quite a few questions associated to the supply chain capabilities in Saudi Arabia. Are there enough contractors in the marketplace? Are there enough subcontractors and suppliers? So, Mikhael, you're with us. As a contractor, I know that BEC Arabia got connected with ventures on site, and one of the things that you wanted to get closer to was suppliers of the industry. As a contractor, how are you finding the supply of materials for project activity?
Thank you for your question, Philip. And I saw the question on the Q&A, and I've responded to it diligently. In regards to us being in contact with all the supply chain and all of the vendors, it gave us immense capabilities, the fact that we are able to source specialized suppliers for the specific needs of the projects within the market of Saudi. As everybody's aware, so some of the issues is that based on the regulations that were being bestowed upon us is that we need to adhere to certain local content regulations, and we need to utilize them for our project execution. On the other hand, there are certain long lead single source items that can only be sourced from specific vendors, and having the ability to interact with the entire supply chain with these dedicated vendors through such platforms as Ventures on Site definitely gave us a certain edge in the market, and that allowed us to contribute to the market needs as needed.
Hugh, your relationship with the contractors on a broader scale, are you finding significant support for the projects that you're designing when that project goes through at a tender stage, or are you just limited to the big brands or the big names that you always know of?
Well, we tend to stick to the bigger names who we know what the relationship is like, and we can have a modicum of safety in the quality of the end product. There have been situations where that connection or relationship hasn't been there, and we haven't been able to supervise or get involved. So quality becomes an issue. And I hope that answers your question.
Very good. Yeah, well, actually, Hugh, you're very famous. There are a lot of people that want to know your phone number. They all want to contact Hugh. You've presented well. The industry really love to get connected to good architects who know what they're talking about, and so I'm sure that we can help them get connected to you. We'll coordinate that with you. So thanks for your inquiries and questions. Badr, a quick question for you with regard to your developments there at Roshn. What's the focus on sustainability and considerations for doing things that are in a more sustainable manner? Could you answer that? Comment on that?
Yes, we have a lot of initiatives that is related to sustainability. The recent initiative was deployed, which is Roshn Green. Also, we have testing initiatives such as solar panels, solar benches, and we have some initiatives that is related to electrical vehicles and sustainability of the living experience itself, using more sustainable materials and having more sustainable resources, such as in landscaping and this stuff.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, there's lots of changes that are moving ahead for the construction industry with new technologies to support construction management, and even construction technologies to support the completed projects. So there are some questions associated to that, and I'm sure we can sort of expand on that in future webinars, and also with our relationship with the Construction Technology Forum, the CTF, coming to Saudi Arabia very soon. And so there's lots of things moving ahead, but just in closing, I thought maybe we could just go around the room, and if you could tell us what do you think is in store for Saudi Arabia's construction activity in the next 5 to 10 years? Just imagine, some of the mega projects that have been developed. Things are moving ahead. Lots of residential projects there. Roshn continuing to develop throughout the region. Where will Saudi Arabia be in 5 to 10 years? Hugh, why don't you kick that discussion off?
Okay, I think it's an interesting one, because when you look at that story, the vision, how the vision turned into all these master planning projects, and then ultimately into the assets, etc. I think what I didn't touch upon was the offshoot was that now suddenly with the mega projects, we're creating an infrastructure or a realm for private developers to come in. And so what we've seen, and if you go to Cityscape now and you look on the floor, a substantial amount of private developers are forming, and they're developing substantial portfolios that are high quality, for instance. and it's creating that private market out there. So I think it's really, really interesting times in terms of that. I think that as these giga projects come up and you have your urban quarters, they will have strong guidelines as to how they're developed, but there is the platform for that to happen. And so it will grow quickly, but it's that step of going from the vision down to the master plan to the individual urban quarter developments and the subplots, etc. So it's going to pick up in speed, definitely. I mean, I think that's the way forward.
Fantastic. What about you, Mikhael? How do you see the contractors sector in 5 to 10 years? Will BEC be 3 times bigger than they are today, or what's the plan?
Well, the plan is to, never bite more than we can chew, and keep going in the same direction as we're going. We are definitely expecting a lot more giga projects coming our way. However, we're also taking into account the fact that, as a lot of other market insights have provided us, is that within 10 to 12 years, I'm talking about a further outlook, that there's going to be a certain market saturation. Henceforth, our decision to include all of our subsidiaries to make sure to be able to contribute and execute as per the market needs, because then, and in the forthcoming future, the market demand would be switched towards real estate development and other various co-development opportunities of actual infrastructure projects, aside from just giga projects execution.
Very good. Okay, and Badr, I'm gonna rephrase my question a little bit for you.
Go ahead.
We talk about the industry, but you are Saudi, so how do you see your country developing? Is this exciting for you to see buildings being built and historical sites being claimed and structured? And as a Saudi, how does this make you feel about Saudi Arabia?
I'll tell you, the feeling that being a Saudi makes you feel so proud that you're part of the country. Secondly, being part of the Vision 2030 is more gives more proudness. The third thing is that the country is expanding magnificently and extremely in terms of projects and real estate, and there is a big exposure that is coming in the next 10 to 20 years, especially after we announce maybe hopefully this year or next year as a country, we will announce the ownership of non-Saudis, that they can own homes here in KSA. That will even increase the demand here on real estate, and will also drive more projects into the country, especially in terms of mixed use and high rise and this stuff. And also the projects at the PIF are more into real estate centric, either hospitality, leisure, or entertainment, or hospitality, leisure, entertainment, or commercial. All of them are into real estate developments and developing with a different type of the asset, but it all into developing this country into the next level, inshallah.
Well, thank you very much. That's wonderful, and it's so good to see Saudi Arabia taking center stage. And I think that we could continue discussing these topics for another hour, but we do want to bring this webinar to a close. And I would like to thank Mikhael, Badr, Hugh. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ventures Onsite. It's been very informative. So glad to see that things are moving ahead, and you are all so enthusiastic about the developments in Saudi Arabia. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining our webinar today. We hope this is just a bit of a touch. Like I said, we could continue talking for many hours on these subjects, but it's been a great time to connect with our guests today, and thank you so much for joining us. Well, so I'd like to bring this webinar to a close, and I do wish you all the very best. To our panel, Hugh, Mikhael, Badr, thank you again for joining us, and for you, in our audience. Thank you so much for being a part of this Ventures On-Site webinar today.
Thanks
Thank
for
you very much.
inviting.
Have a
Thanks.
wonderful day.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you,
You too,
Philip.
guys. Bye.